Welcome back to Mirror Mind, the channel where we uncover the truth behind narcissistic relationships and give you the clarity you need to heal and grow. If you've ever been in a relationship that left you confused, anxious, or constantly walking on eggshells, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into a topic that hits close to home for many survivors of narcissistic abuse: the difference between jealousy and possessiveness, especially within the context of narcissistic love. Is jealousy just a sign that someone cares? Is possessiveness mistaken for passion? Or are these red flags of a deeper emotional dysfunction? Let's unpack it all. Chapter 1. What is jealousy, really? Let's start with a basic definition. Jealousy is an emotional reaction that arises when someone feels threatened by a real or perceived rival, usually in the context of affection, love, or attention. In a healthy relationship, jealousy may appear occasionally. And when it does, it's usually short-lived and manageable. It might come up when your partner gets a lot of attention from someone else or when you feel a little insecure. But in safe, emotionally mature relationships, jealousy is usually expressed through honest communication and reassurance. However, with narcissists, jealousy is not just a fleeting emotion. It is a strategy, a deeply rooted reaction tied to entitlement, control, and envy. It's weaponized. They don't just feel jealous, they act on it in toxic ways. And that leads us to our next concept: possessiveness. Chapter 2. Possessiveness, control disguised as love. Possessiveness is often confused with jealousy, but it's much more intense and much more dangerous. Possessiveness is not just about feeling threatened. It's about owning someone. It's about viewing a partner as property or an extension of the self, not as a separate, autonomous human being. Where jealousy says, "I'm scared of losing you," possessiveness says, "You belong to me. You don't get to choose." In narcissistic relationships, possessiveness is often masked as intense love. "I just want to protect you. I can't bear the thought of you with someone else. I need to know where you are because I care so much." But look closer and you'll see these phrases are often rooted in control, not care. Narcissists often want to dominate your attention, your time, your social life, even your thoughts. Chapter 3. The narcissistic twist on jealousy. In narcissistic relationships, jealousy can show up in some very toxic ways. Accusations without evidence. They accuse you of cheating or being unfaithful with no basis. Monitoring your behavior, constantly checking your phone, your messages, who you follow, who you talk to. Sabotaging your connections, making you feel guilty for talking to friends or family. Public outbursts. Acting jealous in social settings to humiliate or isolate you. Here's the twist. Narcissists often engage in the very behavior they accuse you of. They might cheat, flirt, or seek validation elsewhere, but project that onto you. That's how deep their insecurity runs. Their jealousy isn't about love. It's about control, image management, and insecurity. And it often coexists with possessiveness in a very destructive cycle. Chapter 4. Possessiveness in narcissistic love, the subtle and not-so-subtle signs. Possessiveness often starts off subtly. First, it might even feel flattering. The narcissist wants to be around you all the time. They're intensely focused on you. They say they can't stop thinking about you. You're their soulmate. You may think, "Wow, this person is really into me." But then it starts to shift. They start questioning your every move. They don't like you spending time with friends or family. They get angry when you don't respond immediately to texts or calls. They accuse you of flirting when you're just being friendly. What once felt like passion now feels like a cage. You're being watched, policed, managed. The narcissist begins to isolate you, not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically. They may say things like, "They don't really care about you like I do. Why do you need them when you have me? I just worry about the kind of people you hang around." It's possessiveness cloaked in concern. But the goal is control. Chapter 5. Why narcissists confuse love with ownership. For narcissists, love isn't about mutual respect, trust, or emotional safety. It's about possession. They equate your presence in their life with a kind of ownership. Why? Because narcissists lack emotional object constancy. That means when you're not in front of them, giving them attention, validating their ego, it's like you stop existing in a meaningful way. This creates a deep panic for them, a fear of losing control. To them, jealousy equals threat to control. Possessiveness equals attempt to maintain that control. But none of it is rooted in real love. It's about power dynamics, ego reinforcement, and fear of abandonment, even though they themselves may be the ones who discard or devalue you later. Chapter 6. How it feels to be on the receiving end. If you've been in a narcissistic relationship, you may relate to this. You feel like you have no privacy. You're constantly explaining yourself. You feel anxious when you're away from your partner. Not because you miss them, but because you're afraid of their reaction. You begin to shrink your world to avoid conflict. You stop seeing friends, expressing yourself, or doing things you enjoy. This is not love. This is psychological suffocation. And over time, this kind of possessiveness can lead to something called coercive control, where a partner systematically strips away your autonomy and independence. It's not just unhealthy. It's abuse. Chapter 7: The Cycle of Jealousy and Possessiveness in Narcissistic Relationships. In narcissistic relationships, jealousy and possessiveness don't just appear once, they come in cycles. Here's how it often plays out. Idealization. At first, the narcissist showers you with love, attention, and affection. You feel seen, chosen, special. Jealousy emerges as the narcissist begins to feel insecure or threatened, often by your independence, attractiveness, or outside relationships. They express jealousy either directly or through passive-aggressive comments. Possessiveness intensifies. That jealousy turns into control. They begin setting rules, monitoring your behavior, questioning your intentions. Devaluation. As you resist the control or set boundaries, they start to pull away emotionally, criticize you, or punish you with coldness, rage, or silent treatment. Hoovering. When you begin to detach or leave, they reel you back in with apologies, love bombs, or fake promises to change, and the cycle starts over. This cycle is exhausting. It's a psychological roller coaster designed to keep you in a constant state of anxiety, hypervigilance, and emotional dependence. Chapter 8: Cultural and Social Myths that Normalize Narcissistic Behavior. One reason so many people miss the red flags of narcissistic jealousy and possessiveness is because culture often romanticizes these traits. How many times have you heard things like, "He's just jealous because he loves you. She's possessive because she's afraid of losing you. If he didn't care, he wouldn't act like that." These messages are everywhere, in movies, books, music. They teach us that jealousy and control are signs of passion or devotion. But here's the truth: real love does not feel like imprisonment. Real love supports freedom, autonomy, and trust. When someone tries to control you, isolate you, or punish you for having a life outside the relationship, that's not love. That's fear, insecurity, and manipulation. Chapter 9: How to Tell the Difference: Jealousy versus Possessiveness. Let's break down the key differences with some clarity. Jealousy, healthy form; possessiveness, toxic/narcissistic. Temporary emotion, constant state of control. Based on insecurity or fear, based on entitlement and ownership. Leads to open communication, leads to domination and surveillance. Respect for boundaries, violation of boundaries. Allows for personal autonomy, wants to eliminate autonomy. Jealousy can be addressed, healed, and talked about in mature relationships. But possessiveness, especially with a narcissist, is not a phase. It's a tactic. Chapter 10: Projection, the narcissist's favorite defense. Another layer to this is projection. Narcissists often accuse their partners of the very things they themselves are doing. They accuse you of flirting when they're flirting. They accuse you of cheating while they're cheating. They say you don't love them enough when it's really them who lack the capacity for real intimacy. This projection creates a fog of confusion. You start questioning your own reality, wondering, did I do something wrong? It's all part of the narcissistic game to keep you off balance and under control. Chapter 11: What makes this so dangerous? Why is this pattern so dangerous? Because over time it breaks down your sense of self. You begin to doubt your instincts, feel responsible for their moods, sacrifice your independence, abandon your boundaries. You may even come to believe that you deserve this treatment, that if you were more loyal, more obedient, more loving, they wouldn't act this way. That's how narcissistic abuse works. It rewrites your reality. Chapter 12: The Trauma Bond. Possessiveness and jealousy in narcissistic relationships often create what's known as a trauma bond. This bond forms through cycles of abuse and intermittent reinforcement, where the abuser alternates between cruelty and affection. It becomes incredibly difficult to leave because you crave the moments of affection. You fear the withdrawal or punishment. Your self-esteem has been slowly eroded. Trauma bonding makes it feel like love when really it's psychological captivity. Chapter 13: Healing from Narcissistic Jealousy and Possessiveness. Healing starts with recognition. If you're listening to this and recognizing these patterns, know that you're not alone. Here are some steps to reclaim yourself. Educate yourself. Knowledge is power. The more you understand narcissistic dynamics, the easier it is to detach emotionally. Set boundaries. Start small if you need to. Boundaries are not selfish, they are survival tools. Seek support. Therapy with someone who understands narcissistic abuse is critical. Support groups can also help you feel less isolated. Practice self-trust. Begin rebuilding your intuition. Start believing yourself again. No contact or low contact. In many cases, the best option is to limit or cut off contact with the narcissist, especially if the possessiveness escalates into emotional or physical abuse. Chapter 14. Reclaiming your power. Coming out of a relationship where jealousy and possessiveness were used to control you is like waking up from a long emotional coma. You may feel confused, disoriented, even ashamed. But here's what you need to hear. You are not broken. You are not weak. You were manipulated by someone skilled at exploiting empathy, trust, and love. Reclaiming your power means taking small, consistent steps toward yourself. This might look like journaling to rediscover your voice, reconnecting with friends or passions you abandoned, practicing saying no without guilt, naming the abuse for what it was. This is not a fast process, but it is a real and permanent one when done with intention and support. Chapter 15. Recognizing healthy love. Once you've stepped out of a narcissistic dynamic, the idea of a healthy relationship might feel foreign, even boring. That's because you've been conditioned to associate love with anxiety, chaos, and unpredictability. Here's what healthy love actually looks like. Mutual respect. Both partners are seen, heard, and valued. Emotional safety. You can express needs and feelings without fear of punishment. Freedom. You're allowed to have your own life, interests, and boundaries. Supportive jealousy. If jealousy appears, it's used as a tool for deeper connection, not a weapon. Zero possessiveness. Real love doesn't try to own. It chooses to walk beside. You deserve that. Not as a reward, but as a baseline. Chapter 16. Affirmations for survivors. Let's take a moment for some healing affirmations. If you've endured narcissistic jealousy or possessiveness, these are for you. I am not property. I am a whole, independent person. I deserve relationships rooted in trust and mutual respect. Someone else's jealousy is not a sign of my worth. I release the need to be controlled in the name of love. I trust myself. I trust my boundaries. I trust my healing. Say them often. Say them when you're scared. Say them until you believe them. Chapter 17. The bigger picture. What narcissists teach us. While narcissistic abuse is devastating, it can also open the door to deep personal growth. It forces us to confront our need for external validation, our struggles with self-worth, our fears around setting boundaries. This is not to say we should be grateful for the pain, but we can choose to turn it into purpose. Your experience can lead you towards stronger intuition, deeper self-respect, and even a calling to help others. From survival comes wisdom. From heartbreak comes clarity. Chapter 18. Your healing is a revolution. In a world where narcissistic traits are often normalized or even rewarded, your healing becomes a quiet rebellion. Every time you say, "No more. That's not love. I deserve better," you are breaking cycles, maybe even generational ones. You are not just healing for yourself. You are healing for every version of you who didn't know better, who tolerated too much, who thought they had to earn love through pain. You are a revolution. Chapter 19. Final words on jealousy and possessiveness in narcissistic love. Let's recap one final time. Jealousy and possessiveness in narcissistic love aren't signs of deep care. They're weapons of control. They strip away your freedom, feed your self-doubt, keep you emotionally hostage. But now you see them. You understand the game. And when you can name the behavior, you can reclaim your power. Never confuse obsession for love. Never confuse control for commitment. Healthy love is calm, consistent, respectful, and kind. And anything less is not yours to carry. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Mirror Mind. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to leave a comment, share your story, and connect with others who are walking the same path. We heal better together. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next episode in our Beyond the Mask series, where we keep unraveling the truth behind narcissistic behavior one layer at a time. Until next time, take care of your heart, protect your peace, and remember, your healing matters.